Monali.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Guwahati chapter of English Language Teachers Association of India, I warmly welcome you to this webinar on the role of EQ in communication, making complex ideas clear and Humane. I am Monali Burman, your host for today's webinar. We are delighted to have you all joining us here as participants today. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce our chapter to you. Founded in March 2017, the Altai Guwahati chapter has been actively engaged in a range of outreach activities aimed at enhancing English language teaching in classrooms. Initially focusing on direct classroom interactions, we are gradually expanding our initiatives to include workshops, seminars, and collaborative events that foster the professional growth of English language educators in the region. The Guwahati chapter has always aspired to be a vital platform for bringing together teachers, offering them opportunities for networking, skill development, and meaningful. Through events like this webinar, we aim to create a space where educators can share insights, explore innovative teaching methodologies, and stay informed on the latest trends in English language teaching. This webinar reflects our ongoing commitment to empowering educators, equipping them with the tools and knowledge necessary to enhance their teaching practices and shape the future of ELT in our region and beyond. Now, I would like to invite Tanhaz, the moderator of today's webinar, to share some important information about today's session. Tanhaz.
Thank you so much, Monali, for the warm opening and welcome. Good evening once again to all. I'm Tanha Chahman and I'll be moderating today's webinar. It is good to see people already joining the webinar and we are sure many others will join us soon. Now, let me quickly inform you about the structure of today's session. Our speaker will present for about 45 minutes, which will be followed by a 15-minute interaction session. Please feel free to type your comments or questions, if any, in the chat box during or after the presentation. Your questions will be taken in the interaction session. Towards the end of the session, we'll share a feedback form link in the chat box. We request you to submit the filled form by today. Please fill out your details in the form very carefully as they will be used for generating your certificates.
Thank you, Tanhaz. And with that, let us now move to the main part of the webinar. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Ms. Triparni Biswas. Triparni's professional journey as a communicator spans nearly a decade across diverse industries, including finance, technology, and healthcare, where she has worked with both legacy corporations and fast-paced startups. Alongside her corporate career, she has been teaching English as a foreign language for the past 5 years and actively sharing her industry insights with the teaching community. Academically, she holds a master's degree in English communication from Biswa Bharati Central University, where she graduated magna cum laude and is currently pursuing her second master's in business administration at the Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. In 2022, she was awarded the Roving Reporter Scholarship by IIT EFL. Beyond work, she is passionate about exploring cultures, studying geopolitics, and engaging in volunteer initiatives. Thank you once again for being here, ma'am. Now, I would like to invite our speaker, Ms. Triparni Biswas, to begin her presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Monali. Thank you, Tanhaz. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for having me here today. It is always a little bit of a spine-chilling feeling whenever I'm speaking in front of a group of scholars and teachers and academicians, because the last time I was in association with all of you, it was in college, university. So whenever I come back in forums like these, I kind of see this as a very grateful feeling opportunity. And I'm glad that this is happening in the season of gratefulness as well, before the year is ending. So let me pull the screen up and then let me just give you a brief of what we are going to do in the next 45 minutes. But before that, thank you again to people who have joined, because I know it's a busy day, it's a weekday, but still you have made time for this session. It means a lot to all of us. Let me put the screen up. Yep. I hope my screen is visible to all. If you can give a thumbs up or a yes or something through which I can know that you are able to see me, hear me, that would be great.
Yes,
I
ma'am. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Um, so today I would like to um, talk with you a little bit about the role of emotional quotient. Yeah, Pravina, I see a raised hand. You would like to say something? Um, okay, I'll just continue, Pravina. If you have anything to say, maybe you can put it in the chat, or I'm sure the moderator will be, yeah. So, today we are going to speak or discuss a little bit about the role of emotional quotient in being a successful communicator or being a successful communication professional, and why we need to make our ideas, what however complex it is, because when you go to industry nothing is clear. So why it is very important for us as communication specialists, to make our idea clear and human, and in both these areas, being clear and being human, um, the role of EQ is very high. So we are going to start with that. But before I jump right in the topic, I thank the team to already introducing me, but then a little bit about myself. Other than what has been told, you can see from the screen about my credentials and everything. But then back in 2011, I was trying to figure out what I want to study. And most of my cousins in my family, everyone pursued science, and I did not want to pursue science. I wanted to pursue language, literature, and I wasn't sure why I wanted to do it that point of time. But then life unfolded, and I saw, um, you know, things coming in place. But then, as most of us, I hope it is not true for all of us, but many of us who come from a middle class family, who would like to pursue English, they are told that zindagi mein kuch nahi hone wala hai. Nothing is going to happen in your life by studying literature, studying language. Go study engineering, at the very least, study commerce. I had to listen to this. I heard this from various sources, and the first reaction was like, "Dekh lenge, I'll do something with this degree." And that's what I have been doing for the last almost 10 years. I have been earning more than 10 years, but in corporate, it's close to 10 years now. And you can see that I have two degrees, one in communications and gender studies, which is a department under the larger gamut of English. And I have an MBA from IMK. But I'm very proud to say this, that my first degree, which is in communications, is what is my primary uh, backbone of the entire job that I am doing. So I am not really benefiting anything extra from this fancy MBA that I have. So it gives me this closure that, the degree that all of us, the subject that all of us are so passionate about over here, it can actually create a great impact. And part of this session would actually focus on that. Other than work and studies and all of it, I have a homeschool which I have opened up back in 2023 with the help of my fellow English professionals. And we are working with rescued children. And of course, I love to travel. I love to dance, cook. I have a rescued dog. So that's such is life. This is who I am. Now, let's move to the session objective. So the session topic, as I had mentioned, was EQ, the role of EQ in being a communicator, and how it helps making um, your whatever you are saying clear and human. So compassion is a major part in making whatever you are saying human, right? So compassion, the first thing which I have figured out, it starts from classroom, because that's where our primary training happens, and compassion becomes a muscle memory. It becomes an extension of our personality um, when we are trained from classroom. Second, emotional intelligence. I'll speak a little bit about what EI is, what EQ is, and uh, specifically why this is needed to increase the kind of role where English students and English um, communication students can go in different dimensions of corporate. We are not going to stick into two, three legacy, job or opportunities. We can really diversify our work if we have this particular skill set. And of course, the third part would be how I have been applying my knowledge in English and communications and EQ in English for specific purpose, which is, of course, part of ELT gamut. And I will give you examples of how we are doing it in the medical or the life science and healthcare segment, or the industry which I am part of. Let me start with a question. Uh, Whenever I walk in a classroom, in my small homeschool, or even if there is any session, live session or whatever, I like to see this, that language which we are speaking in, the choice of words that we have, it's never neutral. It creates an impact more than just the semantics of it. It creates an impact in your psyche as well. So, my question to the teachers, and I believe there are quite a few of you who have been in this domain already, is if you can remember and tell me one or two instances where you have created a session plan. However, the plan was not up to the mark of your level of preparedness was not there that day, but uh, the learning flowed really well in the classroom despite not being extremely prepared or perfectly prepared with the lesson plan of that particular day. Still, the session went really well and learning flowed, and you could sense that the students are taking in, seeking in, soaking in whatever you are teaching. This is a question that I would open the forum with. I would request the teachers to contribute and share your experiences with me a little bit. But before I do it, I would like to start with this. So, if you see these three pictures, these are from one of the sessions I had with my children. So I teach multiple things, including vocational English, mental health, menstrual health, hygiene health, and all of these things. So this particular day, we were talking about blood components, and I was not prepared because I came straight from work, and yet when I conducted the session, as you can see in the pictures, everyone was very interested in the whole topic. Like, people engaged, their smiles were giving in the energy. They were discussing, they were having it, and by the end of the session, I could sense that whatever I taught was completely adapted by the students, which gave huge pleasure, that of fruitfulness of the session. Now I reflected back, and I was thinking that I was not prepared much this day, but then still the session went really well. Whatever was given was taken properly, received properly. What was it that impacted that particular day? So I felt, and this is not a scientific session. I'm not wearing that hat in this session. So from my basic understanding, I felt that um, the emotional condition of the room, that particular classroom, impacted a lot. Why? The children were rested well, so they had their brain working properly. They were friends with each other. This is something we have been doing since 2022-23, where ensuring that they are part of so many activities together, be it football, be it music, dance, that they are friends and they are a team. And because they are friends and they're a team, they can make any number of mistakes that they want to. If they say something wrong, we will probably correct them. We'll maybe just crack a joke a little bit and laugh, but nobody feels threatened that, oh, if I make a mistake, then something is going to be terribly wrong with me. Nothing happens like that. So because the emotional condition of the room was so mature and so regulated and everyone was so comfortable, they opened up. They started sharing. And the other part, smaller part, which was not working that day, was the cognitive condition of the room. They did not know about the topic before I started taking the session. Um, Therefore, there was no active problem solving things that was at play. So we were not discussing the topic. We were just, it was a monologue that was coming. And last 15 minutes of the session was interactive when they knew what they are expected. And the third thing was, nobody, my children are not great at grammar. They absolutely have no clue about the grammatical syntax and everything, because most of them have started learning or reading maybe 6 months back. A lot of them, they did not have the comprehension skills or reading skills. They're growing it 6 months back. So we don't even care about what grammar they speak on at this point. We just say that just read, just write whatever you are writing. Ulta hi likhte ho to ulta hi likho, but then write it. So so that's my experience of teaching, where the lesson plan was not at par, yet the learning happened because of the emotional condition of the room was better, even though the cognitive condition was not at par. So coming back to the teachers, if some of you can please share some of these experiences, where you saw things were moving smoother because of the psychological safety that you have observed in the classroom. Um, I'm eager to listen to you for the next couple of minutes.
Hello, ma'am. This is Dr. Panichat from Raipur Technical.
Hi.
Yeah. So I'm sorry you may be hearing voice because I'm traveling back to home in a college bus.
No problem.
So, okay, ma'am. I usually take English for students that come from rural background. So I was taking a session on book review
Okay.
as a part of the syllabus. And I had, as you said, I had absolutely no idea that I had to engage this session with them. But when I presented myself, I knew that they had a couple of handicaps. First
Hmm.
of all, they were not too much into reading.
Hmm.
Secondly, book review was part of their syllabus, and it was something absolutely new. But I did well because, as you said, I provided them a very safe environment in my class. I told them one thing, that what do you understand? I asked them what do you understand by review, or how do they choose going movies, and about their social media, and from social media to the word of mouth for a movie, and then going to a movie and then sharing the highlights of the movie with their friends, and then coming back to what are things that you share coming back to movie to book reviews. So
Hmm.
I asked them to highlight all those points that they include when they narrate a story after coming back from a movie,
Hmm.
and then correlated it with book review. And that made the session very successful, and the results showed that the session was quite good that time.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. And it's relatability. Children needs to relate to
Yes,
something that is there in their regular life, and then bring it to the academic part of it. And people
yes,
open up when they feel something is relatable to them.
yes.
Thank you, Dr. Panikar.
So thank you, thank you,
This was
thank you
really
so much.
interesting. Thank you. Anyone else, if you would like to share your classroom stories, I am very eager to hear you out.
For me, actually, if I mean, if I go without a good plan, I can't say that learning flows very well. But yes, sometimes the communication goes well when I can actually connect to the students, and we enjoy it. Then we enjoy the process of learning. No? We know, and I know that they are enjoying what I'm talking about, and we all are together. We have been enjoying communication. So communication does happen without a good plan. I mean, happen in a good way. But then I'm not sure if, I mean, learning, when we talk about learning, we usually go with some kind of objectives when
Yeah.
in a classroom, some kind of lesson objectives. So
Yeah.
those objectives, it's very difficult to achieve without a good plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think that we can into the system of education. They are from very poor background. They are from very violent households. So for them, sitting with a book itself is a very new thing. So in this context, if someone asks if my children are intelligent, then this is something that I generally tell to everybody, uh, that intelligence is not just solving mathematics or writing a perfect sentence. Intelligence are four types. There are maybe other types also, but what I have seen are these four types of intelligence. One, of course, is the intelligent quotient, which all of us know. How great we can do a calculus, that falls under the intelligent quotient. There is emotional quotient, or the emotional intelligence part of it, which again talks a lot about how much I am in tune with my emotion, how much can I regulate my emotion. If I am feeling joy, am I able to express it? And if I am feeling anger, am I able to express it in the same clarity? Or if I'm angry, am I shutting myself off? I'm not talking about it. So uh, so that's something which is part of the EQ. Then there is something called adaptability quotient. Let's say this is for the students here, right? Let's say you have put all your hard work, everything together to create a beautiful project, and then you take it to your professor, and your professor says that this isn't sitting exactly right, or this is not something which is aligning with our topic. And then we can have two options here. We come back very sad that we have put in so much of work and that got rejected, or we kind of jump bounce back in, put more research, and then we come back. It can also be like simple as a heartbreak. We are all in that phase where we are exploring, we are building new relationships, friendships and everything, and then some things doesn't work out, and there is a breakdown of that important relationship that we had, be it with a friend, be it with a partner, be it with siblings, be it with anybody. And then our entire day goes wrong. Our entire We can't focus the whole week because of that one traumatizing impact that has had on us. But are we able to come back from it and then saying that, okay, fine, there is a problem that has happened, now let me figure out how to deal with my life, because I can't stop living, right? And then there's something called social quotient. Are we able to maintain long healthy relationships with the social structure around us, with our parents, with our teachers, with our gig workers, with our partners, friends, students, everyone around us? Are we able to maintain a healthy, equal relationship among everyone? So to answer the question that I asked, if my students are intelligent, I feel my students have very high AQ, because they come from a very very poor background, and yet they never stop dreaming, right? They are so hopeful, so full of life. And they also have very high emotional quotient. There is not a single moment I feel that if I am upset with something, they will not sense it and they will not ask me, ma'am, are you okay? So there are other things that we need to work around with them, but yes, everyone is intelligent in some way or the other, is my point. So quickly, IQ, it is the capacity of having cognitive skills such as solving a mathematic problem, logical reasoning, whatever. So you get strong academic excellence if you have IQ. EQ, it is the capacity to understand, identify, understand, and perceive what you are feeling. And then put you should be able to write it down, that I'm feeling this because of this, and this is the emotion that I'm feeling. Are you having that kind of clarity? Because that is what drives the interpersonal relationships. Clarity of mind leads to clarity with others. It's not the other way around, unfortunately. Teamwork, stress management, everything comes under EQ. AQ, again, some of the stress management comes in AQ as well. Am I motivated despite setback? So this gives me this long, worthy career that I'm having, or the relationships that we are all having. So all of these things comes with AQ, because in a long career there will be hundreds of blockades. There can never be a smooth sailing road that, you join the company one day and then 10 days you in 10 years you just become, you have three promotions and everything. That doesn't work that way. Some days are good and some days are bad, but can I bounce back? And SQ, of course, it helps in having this nuance thing of being able to articulate things, understanding the cultural nuances. So together, everything together makes a person intelligent. Lacking any of it, it will show in how we are behaving. So we all know this is mostly for the student, again, not from a scientific perspective, but everything. The reason I'm saying this, that our amygdala is the core of how we are utilizing our intelligence, is right inside our head. It's not outside, it is not with anyone else. The power is right within us. Our brain and our entire neural system, it gets regulated based on our habits, how we are dealing with stress. Multiple times it creates that structure in our own body. So if we shout every time we are stressed out, or if the thing which sounds cute but is not cute, it's a red flag, which is being hangry. If you're hungry and you become angry because you're hungry, if you constantly do this, then the brain will take hunger as a stress point, and then it will start releasing that cortisol or that stress hormone out every time you're hungry. And I don't think we should not call spade a spade. It is not something to be angry about. We should go fetch ourselves some food and be okay with the rest of it. So all of these things are stemming from our brain. Now, this is the Goldman's framework, which I would like to just brush about before I deep dive into the topic. So if you see, Goldman has bucketed emotional intelligence into two parts, which is self and social. If you see the markers, everything comes from self awareness. From self awareness, it leads to self management. I can sense that I'm hungry, hence, I will eat my food and control my need to get stressed on it. Once I'm able to manage myself, I am aware of the fact that in relationships of various kinds, someone will also display the same kind of hungry kind of a behavior, hungry and angry. So instead of taking it personally, maybe I can offer a burger to that person and help them out in some way without taking responsibility of their anger. That's not something we can do. And also it leads to social awareness. When I am very clear with myself, when my nervous system is so damn regulated, I can, in that time, I can exercise empathy, because I'm not triggered by every minor changes that is happening around us, and that is not something which is in our control, right? So self-awareness leads to self-management. Self-management leads to social awareness and relationship management. So everything starts from self-awareness, and self-awareness is right in the amygdala. Please feel free to pause me anytime if you would like to add in something. Now, this is mostly for the students and the teachers to kind of show the impact of the work that you are doing. Remember, in the beginning of the session, I had told that when I was doing when I chose English as my career or the subject that I would like to study, people told, you have nothing to do, you will not do anything. How many teachers do they recruit? How many professors do they recruit? Because people are generally knowing that academia is a common and a well-known and a very well-reputed and respected space from English, and most of the kids generally switch to academia. But I did not take that route. I took the corporate route out. And what I have seen is, initially, when ChatGPT was not in place, writing was in demand. Good writing was in demand. I would not say that ChatGPT has, in 1% also, has taken away good writing. This whole thing has shifted from people to ChatGPT. No, but mediocre writing, that has been taken away by ChatGPT. Someone who is a mediocre writer, uh, their job, to be very honest, is not as safe as it used to be before the ChatGPT area. But the benefit of having EQ punched with communication is, you don't need to be a great writer to be a great communicator. You have hundreds of things to do. First, when you are punching EQ and communications, you can become a change manager. Okay, every company goes through hundreds of changes, be it a policy change. For instance, from the hybrid working pattern, people are asked to come back to office regularly. That's a policy change, and that leads to change in behavior. So if I, as a communicator, I have high EQ, I can work as a change manager, and I can ensure that this change in behavior is happening with some regulations which the HRs and the decision making people also need to understand. Intervention specialist, I'll give you one case study right after this to show what it is. But then, in very highly regulated field of work, for instance, audit or clinical trial or heavy machinery, in or mining, we need communication specialists to come in, clear a blockade between, let's say, the workers and the mine owners, clear the blockade, and then come back. So those are very focused intervention that we do. Cultural trainings is already something which is gaining popularity throughout. But again, this is again communications and EQ hand in hand, which is helping people to become culture trainers. So it helps a person from India work with a person from Germany, and they come into this consensus that, okay, this is the definition of time for me, which means like for me, it goes both ways. I'm not saying that we need to follow what the Germans are saying, or I'm not saying we need to follow what the Indians are saying. Timeliness, punctual delivery of work, it's very important for the Indians to practice constantly, because punctuality is something which I don't think our entire nation is very proud of. But at the same time, we are also very hardworking, which means we are available from morning 9 a.m. to night 2 a.m. That's how we Indians work in corporate. We are the most hardworking group of people in corporate, probably. So it's also important for the German stakeholders to understand that a person who is working from 9 a.m. in the morning cannot have the same bandwidth when it is 9 p.m. at night, because they are working for 12 hours already. So when they log in and then they are all fresh and bustling with ideas, we cannot expect the same productivity from the Indian colleagues at the same point of time. So this is something, again, intervention culturally. So all of these things, and product marketing and everything, of course, like every product that goes out, it needs us to understand the market, the people who we want to use that product with, and then like position our product in a way where it is empathetic, where it is useful, and where it is clear. So all of these things, all these work are done by people who have degrees in communications, in gender studies, in English, in comparative literature. So what you are studying can have like a huge impact on and you can have variety of career according to whatever you feel like having. So that's something I wanted to highlight. If you see some of the bullet points that I've mentioned over here, EQ helps in understanding power dynamics. How a teacher and a student, they definitely have power dynamics. A teacher holds the position of power. A student does not hold that much position of power. Same with HR, they hold a position of power. Employees do not hold that kind of power unless you're that kind of a top employee. Even then, you will not hold power. Doctors, patients, doctors hold a power. We are not trained to question a doctor because so technical. What can we question? If you give some medicine to us, what can we question? Government and the citizens. It's very unfortunate that we are even having to discuss this. But yeah, we need to we need to understand the power dynamics and train people to show up for themselves in various ways. So now English students are not really blocked in corporate. It's not really blocked into being writers, copywriter, or something. We can do multiple of things if we have the EQ. I'll take a pause. If there's any question or if there is any observation, please feel free to push it, maybe now, maybe after the session. Let me get into a specific scenario from my field. So this, imagine a situation where your father or one of our fathers is going to the doctor to take a medicine because he's having fever. This antibiotics has been prescribed to the patient, and after some time our father is feeling um, nerve pain which is sustaining constantly there, and there are other people who are paralyzed which can't be reversed back. It's stemming from an antibiotic which is given without any um, what would I say, without any questions. Generally, we don't even question if an antibiotic is given to us. Um, but paralysis is a properly documented side effect of fluxed antibiotics. It's in the market, it has been highlighted, it is still getting circulated in the market, and there are resistance, but not enough to block it off completely. My question to this group is to reflect about this situation where a patient goes for fever and then they experience paralysis because they didn't know better. I don't think any one of us here will feel that this is a justifiable situation for the patient, and that the doctor can have a leeway for any reason. You can't prescribe something which is leading to this kind of ill health. So the communication gap that had happened here is the doctors are heavily focused on what to prescribe. Okay, this is sickness A. Sickness A के लिए this is the medicine prescribed. But to have that emotion in place, to have the empathy in place, to think a little bit more. What can happen if I prescribe this medicine to my patient? That's something which is a little missing in this particular scenario, because there are times when some of the younger fellows who went to the clinic, instead of a middle-aged man, younger folks who went in with the knowledge that this particular set of antibiotics or this composition can lead to these XYZ problems, they questioned the doctor that, but then this can lead to that. And the doctor was like, okay, in that case, I'll change the medicine. But that is probably not the right approach in here. So a little reflection for communicators, because we might think, how does it relate, what can we do? We can do a lot. In fact, communicators, people who are getting trained, are doing these things. So as a communicator, you can be hired as an intervention specialist over here. You see the situation, you see that certain medication has been administered without seeing the side effects and everything, and you can intervene, and you can train the doctor to ask relevant questions instead of just prescribing something at the face value of the problem, the sickness. Why can EQ be at risk while communicating with patients in these kind of situation? Why can EQ for doctors be at risk? Why do you think that EQ is not really exercised that much when they are uh, practicing administering the drugs? I'd like to hear a few of you speaking, if possible. Like, in this particular situation, IQ takes the higher ground than EQ, and do you think that's how it should happen? What is the role in it? If someone would like to just speak up, that would be great. It's okay if you are not, if you're comfortable to take it later, but if you can, please do speak up a little bit. This is another reason why. This is Pranjana. You want to say something?
No, okay. No, maybe the doctor has not considered the patient's psychological situation, and doctor is just looking at the symptoms of the disease, no, and not considering much about the emotional side of the patients.
Pranjana, if you were given an opportunity to train the doctor or to have a chat with the doctor as a communication specialist, can you tell me that one thing that you would like to tell the doctor? Any training, specific training from your classroom, whatever you teach it to your students, can you replicate some of it with a profession, this professional?
I would like to speak on this
Yeah.
about to answer you. Like if I'm given a chance to speak to a doctor, the first thing I would teach them, I will would like to share with them is empathy, because usually they are not trained that much to be emotionally connected with the patient, so they may not understand too much of a situation.
Yeah.
So I think I would work a little bit more on how to develop empathy with the patient.
Yeah, yeah. The reason why they are not really asked to become connected is also there's this, it's a double-edged sword, because we have to have the objectivity as doctors, and
Yes.
yet we need to have the required amount of EQ to um, talk with the patient so that they are not so scared to tell anything or to question anything to the doctor. So is there one thing which you can probably, one or two things from the classroom? Yeah, Nivedita.
Yeah, Tripathi, I don't have an answer to this, but I was just wondering. I had two questions in mind. Like, first thing was that I missed, bits of your presentation. I was traveling, but the first thing is EQ. Firstly, emotional quotient. Can it be developed? Like, can we because some people are more they have higher EQ, like in the case of IQ. We
Yeah.
can say that some people have more empathy than others. So can it be developed, firstly? And secondly, something to do with proficiency also. Like some people, if you're talking about English language proficiency, since I am an ELT professional, suppose a person is a bit low in her or his English proficiency in speaking, suppose. So that person stands the risk of coming off as rude sometimes,
Yeah.
lacking EQ, So, like, what will be how? What is your take on that? Like these two things.
Yeah.
Firstly, EQ, can it be developed, and secondly, language proficiency and EQ, the relation. Yeah.
One first question, definitely yes. It's like 100% yes, that EQ can be developed. It's not a skill that someone can say that, oh, I don't have it, I don't know it. No, no, nothing like that. It can be developed, and that is what uh, I believe most of us are very open with seeking professional therapy to understand ourselves. For whatever reason, we take professional help, right? Psychological therapy and cognitive therapy and everything.
Yes.
So what we learn in that therapy at one line is self identification. What are my emotional ranges, what takes predominance and what is subdued. For instance, I'll be honest and I'll be a little candid here. I take professional help. I have been taking professional help for years now, and what I realized is, of course, empathy has always. Problem was not empathy. Problem was like too much of empathy, probably. Um, so what I was trained was to regulate my emotions, to name that, okay, this is where my certain emotion, like, feeling bad for others or feeling compassionate for others, all of these things were taking a higher priority, while feeling compassionate for myself was taking a lower priority. So empathy is kind of, when you are feeling compassionate for yourself at the same level with feeling compassion for others. Otherwise this becomes performative. If you're not feeling compassionate for yourself but you're just feeling for others, that becomes performative, that is not organic. So this is a training that I have gone through personally, where I have learned how to become my best friend, how to show up for myself. And then when I feel for others, it is more balanced, it is more organic, it is more regulated, and it also helps in articulating it, because I am so clear in my head with what I feel and why I feel, um, that that knot gets untied and you can articulate it a little better. But both of these goes hand in hand. So again, coming back to probably this slide, Nivedita, self-awareness is the core of everything. Once your students are aware of what they are going through, then we need to probably hammer it down into writing, why we are feeling that way in a particular way, or what is it that has gone wrong, what are the trigger points, what do I love about myself, what am I proud of, and then try to practice it with their friends and everything. So we generally say write an essay on your best friend, but we don't, I don't know, I haven't written an essay on me being my best friend in my English classes, but I would love to do that, where I explore my good qualities, my bad qualities, be be a fan of myself, and then appreciate others. So some self-awareness exercises in the ELT classes, I think it would really help. It has helped me, and I really believe that it's going to help the rest as well. So for the sake of time, and there are a few other things that I would like to cover, um, but then before moving on, if any student would like to speak up a little bit, I'm hearing to the teachers, if I can hear a couple of students, that would be really good. I know this is not the best forum or the best way of interaction. I would have loved to meet you all in the classroom, but still, till now, whatever you have seen, how comfortable are you to ask open-ended questions to people who are of more power than you are, people of authority? How open are you, or how confident are you to ask questions, is something that I would love to listen sometime in the session. Okay. So before I move there, so this was the case that I was discussing, where a medicine has been administered, wrong medicine, leading to a lot of serious health issues. And of course, some of us discussed that we can talk a little more about empathy. I would narrow it down further, saying I would like the doctors to be trained in asking open ended questions, which is not limited to our primary symptoms. Oh, your fever is gone. Okay, fine. No. What about the rest? What about the psychological condition of that patient after having that medicine? Was the hormones all over the place? Is he fine? Is she fine? Holistically, these are some of the questions. Learning to ask the right question is what I train as a communication specialist to, when I am intervening situations like these. We have elaborate workshops for that. Now, one question that generally came up in one of the workshop is, how did this drug even get passed and went to the market when this kind of problem were there? So here comes the clinical trial process, which is my core process, where I am part of. So clinical trial process, as you can see, there are four levels of it. Very high, in a very high level discussion, a very plain vanilla way. Drug development, where the biostatisticians, they work on the molecules, they do a lot of data analysis and everything, and then they find out that particular composition which can solve a problem. So the chemists and biostatisticians, they work together with the doctors and they create the drug. Now once the drug is created, there's a clinical trial process where we seek volunteers, let's say cancer, My departments are oncology and cardiac. So let's say cancer. So we are requesting the cancer patients to volunteer themselves for a new drug, and mostly because cancer is a terminal disease, um, um, people often would like to see if a new medicine is working, right? So the process itself requires a communication specialist to be more of an EQ person than the right grammar, right structure. So it all takes a backseat in this job. Once the trial is done, we have two types of outcome. Okay. The first is the medical quantitative outcome. Notice the word quantitative, right? So quantitative means something which you can quantify. There were X number of cancer cells. It has been reduced to fewer cells because of the medication. That's simple, plain vanilla. Okay. Now that means a successful drug, that it's working. The second thing that we look is the patient reported outcome. This is not quantitative. Okay. This is subjective. This is emotional. This is personal. This is lived experience. And lived experience is not something you can beautifully present in forms of articles, essays, or charts or anything. Lived experience is messy. It's chaotic. It's different. So one we have is the quantitative outcome, numbers, very neat, beautiful, and clearly states yes or no. Numbers has nothing to do in between. Yes or no, black and white. And the patient reported outcome, it's the gray zone that we are working on. Again, with the cancer patients, if we talk about how was your life when you are taking the drug, how did you feel, were you able to function as socially as you were able to function after consuming this medicine? So it's a holistic thing. So we'll come into some examples of PRO sheet and how we take in the report and everything. So if these two outcomes are in tangent, it's saying that the drug is fine, there is no major problem in the patient's lives, but the disease has been properly impacted. Either the drug will be cleared based on the other policy and legal checks, else we are sending it back to the drug development team to revisit the whole thing, or we can request for policy changes to the policy analysts or the policy makers, or like the government, we can say that let's change the policy, this is not how this drug is going to get released. So this is the whole process in place. Now PRO is where communicators come into picture. Okay, communicators with EQ, not with just writing skills. You need to have EQ with communication skills, with articulation skill, to be able to work with the PRO team. So PRO has two parts to it. One is symptoms, of course. Let's say I'm having a certain type of cancer. Is the cell is going? If it is working out, fine, great. The other is the patient function. Are you physically fine? Are you emotionally fine? Are you able to be as social as you were before? Is it impacting because of the medicine, or is it impacting because of the disease? And how can we help as people in pharmaceuticals, right? So what we try to do out of it is we are trying to generate the therapy that we are having, the entire therapy, the medical therapy that we are providing to the patients. uh, uh, it is it is become, patients are becoming the king of that entire thing, right? So for instance, um, in a clinical space, there is doctor, there are patients, there are all of us, a lot of stakeholders. So we would like the patient voice to be on the top. So that is something that we are trying to do. Now, some of the impacts of PRO, it's a new thing. It is not something that used to happen from a long, long period of time. Initially, drugs happened based on the medical data analytics outcome. Yes, the fever is gone, so this drug is otherwise legally compliant, so nikal do usko. But now, because the patients are becoming the center of the entire clinical trial process, their voice is becoming the most important voice over here. we are able to make regulatory changes, we are able to change how the drug is labeled, the label that you have around the medication, like the direction to use, the possible outcomes, the side effects. So we are able to write all those things properly so that information is going in the right way. So, more than molecules, it's empathy that is actually shaping up the medical field right now, along with the people who can write and who can articulate that empathy. So, if you see some of these sheets, these are the questions that we ask. Like, instead of, this is how the PROs are structured. We ask, and we don't just limit ourselves to this form, we interview the patients as well. Are you able to talk properly? Are you able to communicate when you need something? Is there any condition you have observed after taking this drug which is interfering how you are sustaining a relationship with people? Are you sleeping too much? Are you sleeping too less? All of these are, coming into the picture. For instance, my thinking has become slowed down now, or I'm facing difficulty in paying attention. So imagine a drug which is solving cancer, even for that kind of a breakthrough thing. These are the questions that is taking the center stage. So it tells us, and these are things which is driven by communication specialists, so it tells us the kind of important work that we are trying to do in our classrooms, because all the students are going to one day, be part of it, part of these whole processes, and they will be interviewing a cancer patient, and we cannot do without empathy over there. We do not need pity, we do not need sympathy, we need empathy over there. So, and a quick check over there, quick fact, actual instance of one of the medication didn't get cleared because the PRO science showed that no, this medication is not leaving the patient with the right mindset. They are not happy with this thing. Even if it is solving the immediate disease, the patients are not feeling holistically well. Their well-being is not holistic, and hence we will again take it back, right? um, so here are the 6 top learnings that I would like us to take away from this whole session. One, empathy is a spectrum, guys, and in the spectrum we have pity, then we have sympathy, we have empathy, and then we have compassion. So pity and sympathy are probably not that impactful when it comes to the medical field. When you're dealing with terminally ill people, we cannot show pity because they are individual people, right? They had a life, they have a life, and because they are sick, in no way we can say, oh, I'm so sorry for you, and then say a bye to them and go. No, that's not how it works here. So empathy and compassion, these should become muscle memory, and this should start from the classroom. Our activities in the classroom should have elements where empathy is getting built in. uh, Choice of word or feedback, how your friends are interacting with each other, is there bullying, is there teasing, is something really impacting another person, are we homophobic, are we any sort of phobic, are we xenophobic? So all of these things impact how this person is growing into. Next is asking open-ended question. Example of the doctor and the patient. Is the doctor trained enough to ask the right open-ended question? If you are not asking the right open-ended question, a patient is not trained to question the doctor back. That's the power dynamics we are working on. So I have to train the people in power, teachers, doctors, government, HRs, all of these folks who are sitting in the position of power, they need to have the training to ask the right question to the other set of people, the students, the patients, the citizens, the employees, so that there is a level playing field of power that we can create. Open mind to accept candid responses. This goes in both ways. As a student, can I take the feedback in an open mind? And as a teacher, am I able to also understand and open mindedly take this feedback that maybe something is not going right in the class, the emotional condition or the psychological safety is not working out, so maybe let's try a different method of doing it. Choice of word, share how it is impacting you. Tell me more about how you are feeling about this thing or this assignment. Are you comfortable with it? Are you not comfortable with it? So all of these things really impact. And then when there's a choice between being correct and being able to connect, I think I will always choose being able to connect. I don't care if I'm correct in my linguistics and all. I need to be able to connect. So whatever it takes to do that. So, a quick recap of the whole session. There are four types of intelligence: IQ, cognitive skills, EQ, emotional self awareness related to self management, relationship management, social management, AQ, motivated even when life is throwing constant lemons at you, make vodka out of it. And then the social quotient. Um, am I able to understand the cultural differences? Am I able to understand the different economic backgrounds of different people, access, privilege, resources? Am I keen to that? And am I able to adapt to that? Um, Emotional condition of classroom actually determines how knowledge will flow, and emotional condition of classroom creates people for whom compassion and empathy are like muscle memories. And when they come in fields like these, it's very easy to work with patients, doctors, people who have ego, who do not have ego. You can tune in accordingly. Highly regulated industries like drug development is evolving. EQ is becoming part of it. And hence, we need communication specialists with EQ. And EQ driven language and communication does not just write beautiful blogs, it actually changes the existing public policies. That is the level of impact that we have if we can articulate properly. So with that, I would come to the end of the session, and maybe we can hand it back over to Monali or someone from the panel who would like to take it forward. So thank you so much. Appreciate everyone who contributed, and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the informative presentation. I would now like to open the floor for questions from the participants. Please feel free to raise your hand or type your questions in the chat box. We have just shared the feedback form link in the chat box. We request you to submit the filled form by today. Please note that the details in the form should be correct as they will be used for generating your certificates. So I request the participants to post their questions in the chat box, or you can use the raise hand option if you wish to ask your question directly.
Hello.
So, yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, okay, I think Dr. Jinali wants to say something.
Yes.
Let her go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. There is no question, but I just want to appreciate the way you explain this EQ portion in communication. It is really helpful. Many a times we are just complaining about the student side, but sometimes there is a problem in our side also because our mood also impact in the teaching. So the way you focus on that part, it helps me a lot. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Really appreciate. Thank you.
Okay, darling, I would like to, I'm very sorry first, apologies. I just slept off after lunch today and I woke up suddenly realizing that I was late for your webinar. So my apologies for that. I missed the first 10 minutes or so. For the better understanding, for making connection of our students with the topic, with the medical situation you've been taking illustrations from. Am I not?
बस feedback form भर गया है, ताकि वो आ जाए.
I think if we can just, yeah.
Okay, I should have used my Okay,
No,
let me see if I can. Can you hear me
I
now
can hear you.
better?
I can
You
hear
can.
you. Yeah,
So, just for better understanding, our better understanding, could you share a practical example of how emotional awareness helped you simplify a complex idea without losing its depth? If you
Um,
can just give
yeah,
us a
maybe yes.
concrete
I can give you
example.
one small example of we are creating a tool right now, ma'am. So
Mhm.
it's going to simplify the hiring processes. It's an AI
Mhm.
tool that we are creating. It will simplify the hiring process.
Mhm.
Now there is something called proctoring method that the AI will proctor the interview. AI will take the interview, proctor the interview, and generate everything. So the way we positioned it is not as a AI tool which is doing some magic with your hiring thing. We just told that it's your virtual hiring partner. So you're partnering a human being as a HR. Let's say I'm an HR. If I see a tool coming in the market which is also hiring, my immediate reaction, ma'am, will be of fear that will it take my job away, and that's not the case because I don't think in any near future an AI tool can replace a human being completely from a job. From my observation, that's not possible, at least not my product. So instead of to address that fear, we position it as a partner, as a technical partner to the.
With our okay, so the connection is playing up. I'll switch off the camera. So the we have to juggle the situation with the between being correct, precision, accuracy, and a silent classroom where there is fear, there is worry about being told off or laughed at, and of embarrassment. So for us, in at a very basic and at a very simple level, the teachers, probably will develop the I mean, with the awareness of emotional quotient, will first try to make the whole class atmosphere safe, a kind of a safe place where students understand that they can make mistakes, they can take risks without being laughed at or told off that you're wrong, and then take them from there. So I still need to think that and yeah, probably.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think one practice, ma'am, and a disclaimer: I am not an experienced ELT professional, so I will not take this question as an ELT professional. But then maybe from the school that I teach in, I'll probably take an example of that school and a little bit of my personal understanding of communications. What we train the students in my school, in my classroom, what I train my students is to become their own best friends. Like they should be so clear with who they are, what are their good qualities, why they are so valuable, and not seeking that validation from any of their friends or teachers or anyone. We tell them that you tell us why you are so good, and we know you are good. I want to hear it from you that why you are good. And we have these sessions of where the students will sit and write essays on why they are, and then we'll exchange it, people will listen, and it takes years, ma'am. It's not something that I have achieved in one class or two classes, but then every class there's this always this focus of giving students an opportunity to tell why they are good, to celebrate themselves, and all of us, we take part in that celebration. So I don't, it doesn't impact if I give a 10 on 10 to somebody, but they themselves give a 10 on 10 to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that self awareness, again back to the basics of self awareness about my good qualities, leads me to be more open to my flaws. When I am so confident that I have 10 good qualities, two flaws does not take the center stage of my personality. Then
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah, I understand. So that's what, but as you said, it's a long process. It
is.
doesn't happen overnight. So that's why the teacher's role in a classroom, it may not be an ELT classroom, it can be any class.
That's true.
Because in Indian situations, we are mostly the situation, things are changing a little, but we are still, our classrooms are pretty silent. It's one-way communication. So the teachers have to really work very hard, but not seem to be working that hard on the students, because that thing does not need to be conveyed to a student that I've kind of become a harassment to the teacher. So it's very, the teachers emotional intelligence sort of helps teachers to sense learners anxiety,
Yeah.
confusion, and then adjust their explanations and examples they give, and they pace their concepts in a way, uh, try to make them as accessible as possible. And as you go along, slowly the student learners gain in confidence, and then probably we are successful in taking them to a point where they start, valuing themselves. Their would like to hear their own voice, or think that yes, we have something to say, which will
Correct.
be appreciated. So,
Absolutely
yeah,
beautiful. That they would love to hear their own voice.
yes,
That is what it is to make them emotionally intelligent. That's the first and basic and foundational step. I mean,
yes.
put it very beautifully.
Yeah. That's it. I do. I mean, it's an interesting discussion. I really like to have my camera on, but please don't play up now. Connection. But I think there are other people. I should not hold the whole conversation. But it's an interesting, parallels can be made here. There's a lot of space for those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ask more questions.
Yes, ma'am. So we have a question in the chat box. The question is, keeping in mind the current demands in corporate sector, would you suggest some key skills that should be taught in a course on teaching English for corporate training?
Writing needs to be superior. You need to beat the chat GPT with, not with grammar. You cannot beat the chat GPT in grammatical, syntactical things, because that's again mechanical, right? You need to beat the chat GPT with your research mindset. And that's how communication is actually changing right now. People who can write amazing vocabulary, beautiful words, their job is not as safe as the person who knows which places to go and do the research from, what to look at, how to figure out the story from a lot of data. So that I to understand the story, to think, to research, I think that is something we need to really focus on. If you're giving a comprehension skill, a passage to read or something, uh, again, the focus should not be on how beautiful the language is or how many words, or like synonyms are utilized over here, but more into the critical thinking side of it, like where is the data coming from, is the source correct, that factual thing. Are you able to find out what are the top 5 research websites that I would like to follow? So if like for instance, if I'm training a new fresher, first day in corporate under my team, currently this is what is going on. I think that the training I give is in research, like find out the right information. And if that training, finding out the right information, does not mean chat gpting and top 5 data point jo bhi aaya, I will just put it. No, that's not how it happens. Going to the right websites. So that inquisitiveness, that should be put into practice in the classroom, and they need to work hard on it, being inquisitive. There's no other shortcuts, otherwise their job is pretty much replaceable right now. The other thing is how to conduct interviews. This is another thing. This is very important, because interview is not just for journalists, but having a journalistic mindset is very important in corporate. Why? When you are doing clinical trials, you have to conduct interviews with the patients, the doctors, the biostatisticians, and you need to know the outcome that I want to have. And a conversation can be messy, so I have to ask the right questions without making them feel that, oh, this is an interview, so I'll be so formal. No, ask the right questions and then draw the points out of it so that your work is done. So asking right questions, journalistic mindset, being able to research on multiple things, getting vertically deep into a topic, these are things I think, this is how I think teaching needs to be evolved into. This is what is required from a communication specialist in corporate, to name a few. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anyone else who wants to ask any question? You can type in the chat box or you can use the raise hand option.
I would have loved to listen to a few students, but I know that this is a little difficult for them to suddenly raise hand and talk. But yeah, but I really hope that the students will take back something and apply it, specifically asking question to the to position of power, being able to be courageous and still go and ask that question instead of feeling, oh, am I sounding stupid? So yeah.
So it's again an illustration of our, the same points being made.
Yeah. I think it would have been a face-to-face session.
Face to face, yes. They're definitely different. They create a different. But then now students, with during COVID time, we had this online classes and all. The students are getting used to it. But again,
it's a challenge.
It does make a difference. Yeah.
Most of the times I am sitting as a student, so I don't feel as much as it is, but I empathize.
Yeah.
So we seem to have covered all the questions, and since there's no more question, I'd like to thank everyone for the insightful questions and thank you, ma'am, for responding to all the queries. That brings us to the end of today's discussion. I extend my sincere thanks to our speaker for the informative session and to all the participants for your active engagement. With that, I now hand the session back to Monali for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Tanhas. Thank you once again, Tripurni ma'am, on behalf of the entire team for such a powerful and meaningful session. Your contribution has enriched our understanding and inspired us to communicate with more empathy and clarity. Also, I extend our sincere gratitude to each one of you for joining today. Thank you very much, everyone, for being such a wonderful audience. Before we close the webinar, I request everyone to turn on the videos and pose for a photograph.
Okay, please make an announcement when the photograph is done, because sometimes it doesn't sort of, we do not understand. So, yeah. We're not.
Are we done? Yes, we're done.
Who's taking
Thank
care
you.
of it? Who was?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
everyone.
much, Tipani. Thanks for coming to the Guwahati chapter webinar. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do stay connected with the Guwahati chapter for future events. Take care.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you all.